Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust in my mittens.
It's cold today.
It is, but I wear red because we're having a festive conversation.
Yeah, so we're gearing up for the holidays, and as you know, you want to get your book orders in soon because of those shipping delays. So
Yeah.
we pulled together all of the books that we think are the perfect gifts for 2020.
Yeah, we want to help you out. We also want to remind you, buy indie if you can, which means shop your local independent bookstore or one online if you can.
Yes, and I shop from bookshop.org. It seems to be my go-to place for shopping. So if you don't have a local or you don't have a favorite, hit up Bookshop and support all indie bookstores sort of at once, which is kind of cool.
I just got a package from them.
Okay, so I've got a lot of books surrounding me. Why don't you go first?
Okay, I'm going to start with this one, which I think is a great gift book, but also I think a really important fitting book for 2020, and it's The Art of the Gathering by Priya Parker. I read this book early in the year and I really loved it. And what Priya does is talk about gatherings, whether it's meetings, holidays, birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is. It talks about how we do our gatherings and why it matters. And one of the things she really discusses is that we maybe need to rethink why we get together. I'm going to use Thanksgiving as an example because it's right around the corner. And I know right now a lot of people are having conversations about whether they're doing Thanksgiving, how they're doing Thanksgiving, and how to do it safely. And I think one of the most important questions she asks is, why do we do it? And why does it matter to us? And maybe now in a time when we're rethinking the ability to do these things, this is a great book that maybe makes you think that we can do it differently and still love it.
So it's funny because the first book that we're putting in our gift giving guide is basically a book to buy yourself. Because you should buy it for yourself and read it.
Yes, I think so. But I also think it's a great, if you have that relative who's really struggling, and I think we all do, somebody who's really struggling to rethink these holidays and still find joy in them, it might be a great gift for them because it might allow them to open up and think like the Zoom holiday or the remote potluck holiday or whatever you decide to do might not be so bad.
Yeah, and it's also, I'm sure it gives you that feeling of community anyway, sort of rethinking those and finding, which we all need. So.
Yep, definitely. So that was my first.
Yeah, and I think you actually have our next category too, right? Because we're going right into for the thriller readers.
Yeah, I have one. I think we're doing this jointly, right?
Yes, because we both have your books technically.
Yeah, we can still share books from afar.
Yeah.
So The Last Mrs. Parrish is definitely a psychological suspense. Very beach ready looking, and is. But I had mentioned it's a little tattered looking because I think this was passed around town all summer long this year. Everybody I read loved it. It was a can't put down novel. Just one of those great gifts for somebody who loves psychological suspense and just needs to lose themselves in a book. I would recommend both these books for us for somebody who might not think of themselves as a reader necessarily, because these books will grab anybody and suck them in.
And that's what I love about thrillers in general too. I mean, like if you look at the books that sort of hit big in the last couple of years, the thrillers are huge. They have that really wide appeal. Everybody can sort of get lost in a murder. I don't care who you are or how crazy that sounds.
No, and you're right. And I think that if you look at the books, if you look back over the books we've both read this year, we both chose a lot of thrillers about books that we would just, when you start, you can't put down and you lose track of time, and it's easy to be distracted by them.
Yeah, people love a crime. They love it. And you lent this one to me. I have not read it yet. So I know that it's great because I gave it to my mom and my mom read it in like 2 days flat and asked me to ask Jessica, what's next?
And you would say that your mom is not or was not previously much of a reader.
My mom was one of those readers. First of all, she never really read, but she said the only thing she likes to read are memoirs and autobiographies. I'm like, really?
And
That's
now the banker's
considering
wife.
the shows that she watches and stuff like that. I'm like, that's just not, no way. And I started with giving her, I don't remember what book it was. I think it was Helen's The Kiss Quotient.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was it. Downhill from there. She's been a reader ever since. And the things that she loves are thrillers and romance books.
We got plenty of those.
Yeah. Okay, so sort of spinning off of the love of dark murder and stuff like that. I am recommending Mexican Gothic for all of my horror lovers, even for, the readers that are crossing over from YA to adult, because I feel like this does that really well. I think that this is the perfect spooky thrills and chills to get any reader to the end of the book.
I agree. I think that book is really, you get really sucked in. And for anybody who loves a rich, I mean, I'm describing the cover as well as the book, but something that's rich and atmospheric.
Right.
That is.
And for your book to movie lover, because I know there are a ton of people that like to read books before they watch TV shows or movies. This will be on Hulu, and this is the perfect one to get now and sort of buy into the hype early because it's worth it.
But I would definitely stress that this is great for that. It's great for anybody, don't get me wrong. But also if you have that sort of college age reader, YA lover, or sometimes those readers who are transitioning a little out of YA into adult, this is a great book for them.
Agreed. I love this one.
So I'm going to lighten things up a little, if I may. Kitchens of the Great Midwest. I am not able to go home to see my family in Minnesota at all this year. And it has been hard. So this book took me home. This book is set in Minnesota, and this is his third book. It's just so, well, first of all, it's rich in food, kitchens, and who doesn't love reading about food? But it really is just a warm, wonderful sort of family read. I would say it's a great sort of holiday, sit by the fire, wrap yourself up in a blanket. It's feel good. And for anybody from the Midwest who's not able to make it there this year, I would really recommend it. It'll just bring you home in all the best ways.
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow, especially because my books don't exactly do that.
Well, I had to lighten it up or people are going to think we are really only dark.
That's true. Well, I mean, I suppose you can think that for me. I don't know how to transition into not dark books, but I mean, not light books, but I'm going to do a little joint category here. I'm going to do for the little armchair traveler, I guess you could say. Of course, both of them are sort of spun by murder, but both of these books are set in Ireland. And for your crime lover, this one is fiction. Tana French is The Searcher. If you watch the channel, you know that she is one of my favorite writers, and she is fantastic. It's a little more slow burn, but it really, it delivers in the end.
I just bought it. I bought it for myself. Yeah, I bought myself a present. It's sitting right there waiting for me.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for you. Did you get this one? Because this is perhaps one of my favorite books of the year. It's a true crime set in Ireland during the Troubles, and it is fantastic. So whether you've got a fiction reader or a nonfiction reader, I've got a crime set in Ireland for you either way.
You've been obsessed with both of these. I would say these should have probably been the first ones we talked about because these have been your obsessions all year.
Probably. Tana French releases a book every 2 years, and every 2 years I am like a rabid dog until I finish it. And then all I do is talk about it for the next 2 years. So I will talk about this for 2 years, and in 2022 we'll pick up with their next book that I hope is coming soon. But yes, these are two of my favorite books of the year, and I can't recommend them enough.
What's the other one? I can see The Searchers, but the title on the other one is hard to read.
Sorry, Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe.
I think I might get that one for my nephew. I know he doesn't watch, so I can say that.
This really was, first of all, it was rich in history. It taught me so much about the history of Ireland, the Troubles, and there's a crime at the center of it. Really interesting one that sort of spans between Boston and Ireland. And it's the author, while the crime is not solved, goes so far as to even make his prediction of who it was.
I like that.
Accusation, I should say. So
I
yeah,
like
it was so good. I highly recommend.
Okay, is it my turn?
Yes.
I'm gonna say A Woman Is No Man by Etaf Rum, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing her name. This is a story about a Palestinian girl who is, I guess what I would say, sort of fighting to become her own person in today's world. That would be the best thing I could say about this book, or my best description. I'm terrible at describing books, but I really loved this book. It's
For people who describe books for a living, we are
terrible at it. Terrible.
We just like to talk about them.
Or we get so caught up in our own feelings about them, we just can't stop.
Yeah.
I think this is a really beautiful read, and for anybody who is a little bit more upmarket or literary leaning on your gift list, I think this is a good choice. It brings you into another world and explores. Well, you understand her Palestinian culture a little bit and what it's like to grow up sort of foreign in your own country. She grows up in America, but feeling a lot like a foreigner because of the world she lives in. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. Great gift.
Well, actually, that is a good segue into my next pick, The Water Dancer, because they are both perfect for your upmarket or literary leaning reader. We talked about this a couple times on the channel because we both read it, I think, a month apart and loved it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what it's about, it's Ta-Nehisi Coates' most recent book, and it follows an enslaved man who can remember pretty much anything but cannot remember his mother. And it just sort of follows his journey towards being freed, and it's powerful and moving
and such a completely different take on the slave experience than anything you've ever seen or read. And it really is just beautiful. It's a beautiful book.
I read a lot of this book with like that lump in your throat, like when you feel like you're gonna cry, because it's that emotional and just thought-provoking and powerful. Yes, if you are buying for an upmarket or literary leaner, these are two great choices.
Excellent. So I'll lighten things up again.
Good, because we needed it.
I feel like this book is for like your best friend and your mom and your aunt, and it's not only for women, but it is, it's a family saga. It's a family story about a family for various reasons who's coming home, the adult children, all adults here, who are sort of coming home in various ways and stages and for different reasons. And it really was full of surprises for me. I think I expected something, it was a fast read, but I expected, I think, something more beach ready. And it was really a rich and beautiful story that had a lot of nuances to it and really looked at family dynamics in a wonderful, joyful, beautiful way. And I think this is another great sort of curl up and read book. But I really think if you're looking for something a little bit, something for mom or a woman in your life especially, this is a great one.
Yeah, awesome. I am not light again. I have what I think is one of the most important books published this year.
I am gifting that one.
It's truly one of the most important books I've ever read. It's Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. You might know her. I think we talked about her earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. I read The Warmth of Other Suns this year. But this is basically a look at America and the racism that sort of plagues the country. But Isabel Wilkerson calls it caste, and she breaks down how our country was sort of developed and how caste sort of infiltrates our systems today. And she compares us to India and World War II Germany, and sort of, the analogies, the descriptions, the way she breaks it down, everyone can understand it. And I think it's thought-provoking and eye-opening and probably the most important read. I think it was called the Keystone Book of our decade or yes, something like that. And I may even be understating that. But truly, I will gift it to anyone I'm buying a book for this year. I don't care if they want to read it, they must. That's how I feel about this book. I'm really glad that I picked it up and read it. So,
that's on my list too. I've already bought that. That's already in my gift to be wrapped pile already.
Oh, that's great. I read it once, and I'm starting to go back with my my Post-its and my highlighter just so that I can sort of, dog ear the things that I want to be able to reference quickly, because it was like a masterclass textbook. Everybody should read it. It should be taught in schools, honestly. But yeah, I loved it. So as in so much as you can love that book. But.
So I have my last two. Again, not as intense as yours.
Well, this is good because it's a good shift.
So I have two cookbooks. I love to cook. So many of us at BookEnds love to cook. We all love to eat, whether we like to cook or not.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did during lockdown and the pandemic was, after weeks and weeks and weeks of talking about it, I finally bought myself an Instapot. and I needed cookbooks to go with the Instapot. So the first one I bought was the Essential Indian Instapot Cookbook. And the author is the Ministry of Curry on Instagram, and she's great to follow and always posting recipes there too. But everything we have cooked out of this has been devoured, gobbled, nothing left to pack away, no leftovers. I just love this book, and I'm a vegetarian. I cook vegetarian, so I was really iffy on the Instapot because I thought of it as a meat-friendly item. But my friend Rajul was adamant that I had to get one, that she is a vegetarian also, and I would love it and use it all the time, and she was right. And this cookbook is already got bookmarks and dog-eared, and it's dirty and messy, and I love it. The second pandemic cooking book for me has been The Everyday Art of Gluten-Free. So in addition to being vegetarian, we are gluten-free. And I have a ton of gluten-free cookbooks and a ton of recipes. This one is also bookmarked and dog-eared. This one is a little different than a lot of other ones because she has different flour bases for different types of baking, but they work and they're amazing. And she is from Austin, and I don't know if her bakery still exists, but when I was in Austin years ago, which was actually the first time I met Rachel, lots of name dropping in the cookbook area, I was able to get her pastries at the bakery, and they would actually sell them at all the coffee shops throughout Austin, and they were amazing. So if you are gluten-free or know somebody who's gluten-free, I think this is a great cookbook.
I do know a couple people that are gluten-free, so that is a great cookbook for me.
Yeah, she has two of them. The other one is the Blackbird Bakery, which is also good. I would have brought that one in, but it is literally falling apart at the binding. So
that's a good sign.
Yes.
I added the cookbook to my list too because I got into cooking since I've been home all day. And I watched Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat last year. And Amanda told me that if I loved the show, I need to get the book. Amanda Jan at BookEnds. And I love the book. I think it has taught me so much as somebody who was just, starting out in terms of cooking, and just the essentials. And there's a bunch of recipes in here. And Samin Nosrat is hilarious and just charming and a joy to watch and read. This is the kind of book that you can gift, anybody sort of getting married or moving out or anything like that, just getting started. It is the perfect foundational cookbook, I thought.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's why I included it in our list, because you've got the next advanced levels, and I'm bringing it in for the beginners.
Mine are a little specific, I'll say.
Yeah. But now we have one more, and is it a little too on the nose? I don't know. I don't care, because I had to do a picture book, and this was my favorite release of the year for other reasons, and now it's just even better. The Next President by Kate Messner and Adam Rex.
Hilarious.
Well, Kate Messner is a force. If you're involved in picture books, then you know that. And Adam Rex is a very talented illustrator and writer. But this book is basically a sequential look through all 45 presidents. And
cool.
I love the way it ends on this really inspirational note for young readers that the next president might just be reading this book. So I think it's a great sort of nonfiction text for young readers, super inspiring. It's great for schools, and it's great to sort of look at the title and be like, okay, 2021.
But also with the election just dominating the news for months and months, and now the inauguration coming up, it's such a great thing to give kids to have their own perspective on what this all means, and have their own sort of text on what everybody has been talking about.
Yeah, and Kate does this really interesting thing throughout the book where she sort of takes a second and she's like, okay, but while this president was serving, all of these presidents were alive and they were doing this, or they were in.
Oh, that's really cool.
Honestly, it's such a great book. I've bought one for all the little ones in my life. Mine is a little tattered because my nephew has been using it for school. So yeah, no, it's a really great book, and the illustrations, I'm just going to show you, are beautiful.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's really a wonderful book, and it's my favorite as a nonfiction writer too. I thought it was a masterclass in what you can do with the picture book format. So yeah,
that's great.
And that's it.
Don't forget to shop Indie.
Yes.
And if you are still looking for book ideas, I guess you could watch our previous What We Read Over the Course of the Month videos that we did all year long, or most of the year.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear what you are buying this year. So if one of your books are not on our list, please share them in the comments, because, hey, we've got a lot of people to buy books for, so we might. Yeah. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you back here next time.
Bye.